Hey all, thanks for joining me for part 3 of a 4-part series. I'll just give you a little rundown of the first part and second part. First part was about the demonic web networks that all have been in the news lately, and how the elders have talked about that, prophetic warnings of that, and what would happen to them. And then the second part was what happens to America during really World War III. That's what that was about: America's demise, uprisings, strife. So I'm going to actually finish up that particular. I have one other thing to show you on that, so I'm going to end that particular segment with something I need to share with you here. Okay, I'm just going to give you this short part here that's important. Quote, "The wrath of the people in America will activate the divine power which will impose order, and order will be imposed through the great earthquake and the destruction. The greed that has overtaken this country called America will be wiped out in a single night." So I don't know if we're supposed to take that literally, but it's not very good. Anyway, just wanted to wrap that portion up with that last line so we can show that we are now segueing into the third part. You know, some elders have said that World War III actually started 2008. Elder Joseph actually said that. 2008, regarding the Russia-Georgia conflict. Then some others have said the Syrian civil war back in, I think, 2013, 2014 was more of the start of the war. And I've also heard that the Russia-Ukraine war was the beginning, or 2014, and then the Russia-Ukraine war. Either way, it's been going on for a while. You know, historically, World Wars I and II, it wasn't like it just came out of nowhere. It was going on for several years before a certain small incident caused it to trigger the larger actual war. So usually about 10 years of the pot kind of warming up and boil, to a boiling point, and then to that trigger small incident, then it boils over. That's when it's around that amount of time. Like I said, it's not overnight. So with that, I have a few prophecies to share with you. I'm not going to go through all of them. I've done a lot of them on World War III. We're going to start with one that maybe isn't as well known. So let me bring that up. Okay, it's one by an Archbishop Theophane of Poltava. He reposed in 1943. He had said that this terrible war, which we're thinking is World War III, will begin in the East and will end in the West. More than half of mankind will perish. All the great cities will be annihilated. Sufferings during this war, Archbishop Theophane adds, will be indescribable. You'll note that Archbishop Theophanes made this prophecy before the age of nuclear warfare, at a time when it was as yet impossible for conventional warfare to accomplish destruction on the scale of that he describes. It says here by this person who posted this that it is consistent, his prophecy is consistent with others from Orthodox saints, including Cosmas and St. John of Kronstadt and Andrew of Caesarea. But now, what I'm going to center on is Elder Joseph of Vatopaidi. I'm going to review that because it's been a while since I've brought up his 7 phases. I will be talking about the unknown elders as well. his new details. I want to compare. That's how I do things. And I'm going to start with Elder Joseph. I'm also going to, I have a question that I'm saving toward the end to ask you all. And hopefully you'll have some kind of answer that you think might be the answer to my question. So let's get to Elder Joseph. So with this, we're going to go through some of the phases, and then there's things I'm going to do in between. We're going to start with phase 1 here. The first war is between Russia and Georgia. It happened in 2008. This is where I told you he says that. Russia will be challenged again by Georgia, and this time Russia will destroy it completely. So obviously this is for World War III, since the 2008 conflict already happened. Georgia is the Americans' embankment to delay the Russians so that America and Israel can attack Iran undisturbed. However, Putin declared that by attacking Iran, he is seizing Georgia, which is strategically a critical point. Unfortunately, the casualties in Georgia will be terrible. As long as the Russians are fighting there, the Ukrainians will be incited by the Americans and will create strong provocations against them. Yeah, we know that part, right? That's actually what happened. Then it says, Turkey will then allow American ships and aircraft to pass through the straits of the Hellespont and from her national airspace to strike the Russians. Then the countdown for the Turks will begin. The Russians will very soon occupy Ukraine and will be enthusiastically welcomed in the cities. Over Ukraine and the Black Sea, the Americans and Russians will fight for the first time air battles, and the Russians will prevail overwhelmingly. In Turkey, a dictatorship will have been imposed. The Kurds will rise up, creating a front against the Turks. There will be a global economic upheaval, a stoppage of payments, the collapse of one economy after another, popular uprisings with economic demands, and the refusal of European troops conscription. In one night, thousands of employees will be fired both in America and in Greece. He said the following about the economic crisis in Greece. It will be good for everyone to take care to save the necessities for his family. The crisis will fluctuate, trying to sow despair and panic. People will lose their deposits and be fired from their jobs. After an outbreak of crisis, in the first days, it will seem that everything is under control. Then they will be hit harder. Loan installments will increase tenfold overnight. People will kill themselves. Shop and banks will be looted and set on fire. The economy will collapse and unprecedented taxes will be imposed, even on domestic animals. Of course, if you remember, when I did the piece on the what happens to the demise of America, same kind of description of what happens in America, it happens as well in Greece and then in other countries. And you'll notice that he mentions all that. So he lines up pretty well with Elder Joseph's prophecy on what happens with the economy. So, wanted to point that out. Okay. An attack by America and Israel against Iran is imminent. There's that. He brings it up as well. So there's Elder Theodore about when you're drinking your morning coffee, you'll hear that Israel has hit Iran's nuclear facility, which happened back in June 2025. So here, Elder Joseph is bringing this up. There's an imminent attack. Now, I'm not sure what this means as far as if that's supposed to be the same attack lineup as what Elder Theodore said, or if it's the second attack that we expect to happen soon. Don't know. The war for the blessings of Greece will be caught from below. So basically you want it to be caught from below because then Greece would have been destroyed if it would have been caught from above, according to St. Cosmas the Anatolian. But war will also break out in our neighborhood. This is Greece he's talking about. Albanians, Croats, Bosnian Muslims, Americans, and a few NATO members against the Orthodox of Russia and Serbia. In Greece, the government will fall and we will go to elections. And then, I'm going to give you some more information on this. Then exactly the junta that will rule Turkey will attack us. And let me go into another section here, because there's something to say on that. This is what's happening at that time. What I understand is they will rise up Muslim economic immigrants in our country, whom they will have supplied with military equipment, and will follow with acts of sabotage, such as blowing up bridges, roads, arson, destruction of aqueducts, and possibly even contamination of drinking water. It says they have already found EFs with thousands of weapons, and we know from some who provoke by staying in five-star hotels that we will suffer a violent disruption and overthrow of the legal order. Then he says the Turks will attempt the absolute surprise. They will embark their troops in ships, and they will head to land from Gabala to Athens, while as a distraction they will also attack Cyprus, where fierce battles will be fought and there will be great losses to the army and the civilian population. They will reach a breadth from their target only 6 nautical miles from the shores. That's the 6 miles prophesied by St. Cosmas the Anatolian that St. Paisios also talks about. But due to the rapid descent of the Russians, they will be forced to withdraw their forces in order to defend their homeland. And then it says, then the Greek Cypriot forces will retake the occupied territories where unfortunately incidents of ethnic cleansing will occur. Let me go back to where we were on this and go back to this particular section. So, that's what he said. Then exactly the junta that will rule Turkey will attack us, but the Russians will move quickly southwards, rushing to occupy Turkey as quickly as possible before NATO can reinforce it. Turkey will be hit hard and destroyed completely. The Russians will have previously invaded Georgia, Ukraine, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, pushing back the American troops. They will also invade the north, conquering all the Scandinavian countries, Finland, Norway, and Sweden, because while they seemingly maintain a neutral position, a great strike against the Russian population will be planned from their lands. The destruction they will suffer will shock humanity. Then the Russians will invade Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, Romania, and Moldova. The people of the Orthodox states of the Balkans, Serbs and Romanians, not the Bulgarians, will rise up and overthrow their corrupt governments, allying themselves with the Russians. Remember, look at that. Not the Bulgarians. We'll get into that later regarding Bulgaria, so that's important to remember. Phase 3. Then the Russians will go down south to help their Arab allies, especially the Iranians, who will be attacked by the Americans. The Americans will have captured the coastal zone of Iran after a fierce struggle, but they will not be able to advance inside of the country because of the great resistance they will receive. The Russians will sweep across Persia and destroy the American forces in the east. Then they will invade Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Kuwait, and finally Israel. Then there will be the first attempt to use nuclear weapons by the U.S. and Israel, but the Russians will neutralize them, causing a global blackout of energy and communications EMP. Okay, that is interesting because during the time that America has all these issues with the collapse of the economy, and then they supposedly, whoever they are, the banks or whoever they are in charge, turn off all the electricity, all the internet, everything. Just blackout. But this particular one seems to be caused by Russia. So maybe he was talking maybe that was Russia he's talking about. I don't know. But I just found that kind of interesting, those connections right there. Now, the book of Revelation refers to what is said by Christ himself about the soldiers of Gog. When they are on the Mount of Olives, the great earthquake will open it in two, and they will be so frightened that they will beat each other. It is the great earthquake that will shake the whole Mediterranean. Another thing I want to say about that is, yes, we know Greece is supposed to have a huge earthquake around Greece area too, and then America is supposed to have a huge earthquake. So I'm assuming that this all happens around the same time America's earthquake happens. This may be when King John is revealed in Hagia Sophia at the same time, and it will mark the Greek world conquest, without this meaning that there will not be Russian soldiers in Israel and Chinese in the Euphrates. That means they will be there. The Russians will advance to Egypt, and they will seize the Suez Canal. During the advance of the Russians in Egypt, their troops will pass through Greek air and land space quickly, without Greece suffering any damage. This ability to move a large number of troops in a short period of time will result in strategic advantage over their opponents. Then they will turn to the Balkans to help the Serbs, who will be attacked by NATO, Muslim, and Catholic Balkan states, and win. And number 4. What will burn the Russians, leading them to redeployment of forces, is the betrayal of the Chinese, who will initially be with them. Then, in the face of the greatest exchange ever agreed, the occupation of Siberia, they will withdraw and allow NATO to hit the Russians in the back. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I posted a video a few months back on the pipeline, the Siberian Pact between China and Russia. That pipeline, I think it was, agreement they made. And I referred to this, remembering that, yes, here they're going to put this pact together, and then this happens, that China betrays Russia. Okay. And then, again, allows NATO to hit the Russians in the back. The Russians, this is phase 5 now, the Russians will deploy forces to eastern Thrace and the opposite territories of Asia Minor. The Westerners will land in Albania, 3 million troops. I wonder where they're going to get all those people. And through the Paragnacia Road, they will move east. Now, however, due to extensive damage in the road network, they will divert the most of the NATO forces to Greece through the Egnatian Road. Before I go any further on that, I'm going to remind you about what the elder of Agrippa, that's Father Panagiotis Siolus. I'm just giving you some information here that he had, in 2011, he was traveling with one of his godchildren, George, along the treacherous Lamia-Domokos road, widely regarded as one of the most dangerous routes in Greece due to its frequent and often fatal traffic accidents. Okay? We're going to go to another part here. I'm doing a shortcut portion of this. I've done this video before, but I want to add this part. George asked the elder when the war would take place. George, the war will break out when the new road connecting Domokos and Lamia is completed. Now, if you recall, it was supposed to have been completed in 2024, but it wasn't. There was some weather issues, so they weren't able to do it then. They hadn't been able to finish it all up. They had the southern portion done, but they didn't have the whole thing. But the road, the Highway 65 that connects with the Ignatia Road, is going to be done between April and June of this year. So just like 2 or 3 months, it's supposed to be completed. So this is another big sign that we need to watch for, because he's saying that's when the war is going to start. Okay, now let's go back And back to the Elder Joseph's prophecy. They will do this on the one hand because the Greek road network will have suffered minor damages. So as until then, Greece will have remained neutral. And on the other hand, because the Russians will choose not to strike an Orthodox and friendly neighboring country. However, the Westerners will hate the Greeks terribly because they did not fight against the Russians and because they will not have suffered such great destruction and losses. It says, "Blessed be the Greeks who will fall into the hands of NATO. Every farmer and shepherd will be asked with ridiculous excuses to answer and questions about whether the city, Constantinople, is far or near. And they will be tortured until death." Now here's a quote from St. Cosmas. He says, "They will ask you if the city is far. Don't tell the truth because they will abuse you." But here he's saying they will be tortured unto death. So let's hope they remember what St. Cosmas says. "The army will deviate from their course and attack small and large towns. The shame of the papal crusaders will be repeated. Houses will be looted. Women of any age will be raped. Innocent citizens will be murdered. Churches will be set on fire. And the evil will continue because the military units will succeed one another." And you'll recall that the elder says that it's dangerous, that highway, and he also says later George was supposed to show up in the military at a certain spot, but he's not going to be in that place. He's not going to be in Evros, he's going to be in Rio. He says, "You're going to wear a cross, and there you'll be tasked with telling the residents to go up to the mountains to the right of Paktos, because NATO troops will come through and ravage everything." And he's saying the same thing as what Elder Joseph is saying. The only salvation will be to flee to the forests and mountains, which is just what Father Panayotis said. A part of NATO soldiers will be channeled through Thessaly. A terrible disaster will await the inhabitants of the surrounding areas. The villages of the Campos will be destroyed because they do not have natural cover. Only the villages that are at the foot of Mount Olympus and Mount Kysavos will be spared. The military forces from Thessaly and Egnatia will unite outside the city, but the wage of the new crusaders will be heavy and devastating in front of the walls of Constantinople. The Russians will prevail, and later they will hand over the city to the Greeks, where the few remaining inhabitants will suffer little injustice. So, going to go on, I want to bring up, that's pretty much, there's one other part I will get into later, but I want to get to the unknown elder, what he had to say on what happens. In 2012, the elder spoke about Germany. He said, "Something involving nuclear matters will happen in Germany. Either a nuclear plant accident or a nuclear attack. Germany will suffer a great calamity." Oh, Lord have mercy. Here's more on Germany. First, he says in March 2022, Europe has already packed its suitcases to move to other places. Populations will begin to move in waves, like the waves of the sea, seeking places more secure and safe. He said in March 7, 2022, the elder, he spoke about Germany once again. Germany will pay for all the blood it shed in the First and Second World Wars, and for the Third World War, the economic one. Something involving nuclear matters will happen in Germany, either a nuclear power plant, as he said, or a nuclear attack. Germany will suffer a great calamity. Germany will be tested severely. Foreigners will return to their homelands, and the Germans will break into small federations. They will abandon the central structure known as the German state and form small states. He also said in March 14, 2022, that my children, the war is leaving Ukraine and it's moving to the Middle East. It's interesting he says that March 14th, 2022, because the war had started in February. And you realize around March and April was when, I think it was like late March, early April, there was supposed to have been that agreement that they would have ended the war then, but unfortunately Boris Johnson and America got involved, and Europe, so that did not happen. That was a change, wasn't it? It's caused the war to continue. But in any case, he says that it's moving to the Middle East. 4 countries of the region will become involved. So it'll shift from the north toward the south. He said in October 2019 of the Middle East, he said the destruction will come from the Euphrates River and upward. It's war. There will be no Syria. That's really sad to me. Because he and his flock in Damascus and all that, and, our brothers and sisters. It says there will be no Syria, there will be no Turkey, half of Bulgaria will not exist. This was very surprising to me. I had no idea that Bulgaria was going to be affected this way. It has the Orthodox Church there, a really great Archbishop there, or Patriarch, I think, Daniel. Really, really sad to hear. That's what he's saying is going to happen to Bulgaria. Let's go on. And then this particular portion here says, on July 20, 2019, he issued a warning to foreign powers. If the foreigners do not change their policy toward Greece, they will have to deal with Christ. They must be very careful with their behavior, for even the birds in their countries will not know where to hide. Such will be the height of the waters that will come. Woe to their countries. So we're going to have these tsunamis, these floods, in I guess certain parts of the world. Obviously, it's not going to flood all of the world because God promised he wouldn't do that again. He promised with the rainbow that he wouldn't do that. So, yeah, okay, let's go on. This is quite disturbing. It says July 18, 2020 brought a cryptic warning. The month of August, he did not mention which year. The month of August will be very hot, not because of the heat. Whatever you understood, you understood. So that is chilling. That is chilling. It really makes me think of the fact that it's going to be the war, and maybe the weapons. It sounds very ominous. And he says, in 2021, the elder spoke of global upheaval. My children, the shifting of the Earth's axis will cause floods, earthquakes, and great destruction. Half of England will be under the water of the sea. The sea will be pulled inward across the whole world. Okay, pulled inward across the whole world. I'm not exactly quite sure what that means, but it doesn't sound good. Half of England will be under the water of the sea. It sounds like England is going to be going through the same thing that America is going through. Will go through. I mean, and England is a small island. Half of it's going to be... Okay. Well, let's go on. This part is a mixture of what happens in America. He mentioned it here, once again. And I'll just read that particular portion a little bit. In June 2021, he warned of geopolitical escalation to prevent a conflict in the Black Sea, Crimea region between Russia and NATO force, Russian and NATO forces, a civil war may erupt in the American inevitable uprising, whether now or later. So, not really quite sure when that's supposed to exactly happen. Many deeply troubling revelations will surface. Many deeply troubling revelations will surface. Again, this goes back to, sometimes these things overlap. This goes back to part 1 with the demonic trafficking networks by these global elites. And here he's mentioning troubling revelations. Yeah, will surface. Once again, developments will unfold rapidly with the military beginning to round up members of Congress and the government. So that to me, again, sounds like a coup. This is a chilling part. He says in December 31st, 2021, he delivered one of the most dramatic prophecies. A great blow is coming, my children. It will appear to be natural, but it will be from a human hand. And great harm will be done across the whole world. By a human hand? Wow. Expect terrifying events that have never occurred since the creation of the world. Even the fish will come out onto the land and remain with their mouths open at what will happen to humanity. And of course, this reminds me of the video I did on the earth groaning and all these things happening. And remember, I mentioned that the geologists had mentioned the oarfish that were washing up on the shores of California because of the earthquakes that were happening. I think happened with the 2011 Japan earthquake, but also the one last summer in July off the coast of western coast of Russia. They came up then. That just reminded me of that for some reason. My children, what is coming will be terrifying. What happened in Ukraine is nothing compared to what you will see. We are not speaking about bombings. We are speaking about the extermination of thousands of people within 3 days and nights. This sounds like the main war. What will happen will be dreadful and unbearable for humanity. We are not talking about electricity or economics or energy. We are saying that the whole earth will tremble. The earth will dance from the missiles, and you will see explosions coming from within the earth itself. Perhaps it will be a celestial body falling to earth. I do not know. Wow. Perhaps it will be nuclear weapons being used. I do not know, my children. May the Holy Virgin Mary save us. Just terrifying. Okay. When I first read this, it gave me a lot of chills. And you know that saying that if you get chills from somebody saying some words, or you read words that are like this and you get the chills, it actually means that it's the truth. I don't know if you ever heard that, but I don't know how true it is, but that's what I've been told. April 18, 2022 brought 2 revelations. Quote, it will appear that Russia has been trapped in the north, but where they think they have trapped her, there the volcano will erupt, the wounded red bear. So this sounds like some kind of metaphor, kind of like you'd always hear, don't poke the bear. That kind of sounds like this. And then a second message on the same day. They will hold consultations among themselves, these countries, with the aim of deciding on the total exclusion of Russia in the sky, on land, and at sea. They will try to contain the war there in order to save their own. But suddenly the war will slip out of their control. They will do something unpleasant, and then the cup will overflow. Then will come what is approaching, that which no human mind has ever imagined. O Lord. What I have been telling you for so long will happen. What the holy elders tell you, what the saints tell you, what the prophets tell you, these things that are coming very soon, he says. By October 2022, the elders' warnings expanded to the entire planet, and we will get into it says here, the whole earth will tremble, there will be earthquakes, partial submersions, and many other natural disasters. It will be a chaotic situation. The earth will sink, trees will fall and disappear. The earth will swallow them. Holy Mary, help us. He sounds totally terrified. It's horrible. This portion, now this one I'd read partially in part 1 with regard to the demonic things going on, but I also need to read this because there's other portions that are important as well. He says, on March 23rd, 2023, sweeping revelations here. It's the most sweeping revelations. My children, these global developments will be enormous. They will have no precedent. They will have a beginning, but the end will be delayed. The end will indeed be painful for many, but it will be peaceful for the rest. I always found that interesting. Those who have suffered at the hands of the many. This is how everything will unfold. You will live through a situation, my children. Again, we are going to be alive for these things, where you will wish the earth would move from beneath your feet as you could hide somewhere else. You will live through a situation where even the heavens will weep at the hour of the events. You will live through a situation where saints will descend to earth together with the angels to help the world. They will speak to you in your own language, Orthodox and non-Orthodox alike, all those who wanted to bring this great evil. The hour of justice has come. My children, faith and repentance, and in your heart and soul, Christ and the Holy Trinity, be holy upon the earth. Cleanse your soul. Repent for all you have done. Be with the Holy Trinity, my children, so that you may endure the time that is coming with you, with love, without much pain, but with compassion. I say without much pain because you will suffer from what your eyes will see around you, with compassion for your fellow human beings. Yes, I'm already experiencing that and have been for quite some time. Proclaim day and night the Holy Trinity, your Christ, your Heavenly Father, and the Holy Virgin, the Mother who is upon the earth, the Mother who has taken all of you upon her shoulders, the Mother who wants all souls to be saved and who intercedes for you, who pleads with her Son. Now, on April 22nd, 2023, the elder warned that those who once sought to divide Greece, those who had decided to divide Greece among them, Germany, will come to Greece in caravans to save themselves. On June 30, 2023, he carried out a message that blended the ordinary with the catastrophic. Listen, my children, you will go on vacation, but not vacation. You will go to relax without relaxing. You will go to feel well, but at that moment you will not feel well. You will see what an earthquake is like. And I am not speaking about an ordinary earthquake. You will see what it is like when the earth shakes and the mountains shake as well. And then landslides occur, and with the landslides, certain roads close. This is how God will close the roads of destruction. As for the north, my children, it will fall, and when the north falls, and when it moves toward the south, there, my children, the great clash will take place with major developments. And I am seeing here that what he's saying is during all this stuff that's going on with the nations fighting, there are natural disasters going on between and during these events, these conflicts, these wars. Elder Joseph, because I want to go over phase 6 here. It says the elder did not, okay, so let's go on. He did not reveal anything further, but it says, perhaps the nuclear war of the 3 days will follow the above events, as well as the flash of orthodoxy. Saint Haralambus had prophesied that Russia would become a superpower for 5.5 months, but in the end it would be defeated by the Americans, who, however, will not find hands to applaud. In fact, See, this is the part that's my question. Oh, and I'll get to that. And I want to ask that, okay, for this moment, because as you see, he finishes off by saying, in fact, there will be no winner, as the earth will turn into a vast cemetery. And Elder Joseph said, America will be completely destroyed, and 90% of its citizens will be killed. 90% of the citizens will be killed. Lord have mercy. Let's hope that's not the case. So my question to you all is, with what's going to happen to America, with the earthquake, the volcano, the tsunamis on the coast, partial America left, and you see here, we're saying, I said that the thing that happens to America is sometime between Russia and Turkey war, I think was saying, because I don't think they were able to go up and stop Russia at that time because things were happening in America. Later on, it says America, warns Russia at the gate, basically at the outside of Jerusalem. It goes all the way down there, and so does China. And America's there, as well as all Europe, warning Russia to, stop and go retreat, basically, from the Jerusalem, Israel area. But I was just reading another prophecy, a Russian prophecy, that said that Russia was going to take over Jerusalem. So I'm not sure, but what I'm trying to get on my question here is, it says somehow all this catastrophe happens in America, yet they're there for the final battle. And I'm trying to figure out if all of this destruction happened in the midst of the time that it said that America started to have problems. Then how did they come about after, being left partial? There wouldn't be much left of their abilities to do. I mean, the only thing I think is, well, maybe if they had a nuke left or something, and I don't really understand that very well. I find it very strange, but if we lose such a huge amount of people, I'm not sure how functional, on what condition we would be in to be in this last 3-day and 3-night war. So I'm wondering if, because I've always figured it was somewhere before that happened for America. It couldn't possibly be after that, would it? Because he's saying they're not in good shape either. So that's my question. When do you think that this is what's supposed to happen for America, if they're actually going to show up for the last war? The 3-day, the big final battle. Do you have any ideas on that? I thought that was kind of, I just had some questions on that. Anyway, a lot there. I think that was the most terrifying thing I've ever read, was the unknown elders' most recent detailed prophecies on this world war. Anyway, please share your thoughts on all this. There's a lot there to think about. Please don't forget to increase your prayers, your daily prayer routine, and so we can keep these prayers going. We need them so much now. Thanks so much for watching, for following my channel. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing if you like my content. Also, like my videos if you like what you see and what you've learned, if it was informative and helpful to you and all that.